have I accomplished anything substantial in my life? Have I actually done anything that's even interesting? Those were the thoughts that were obsessively going through my head when I had my first midlife crisis, also known as my 40th birthday, when I realized that statistically, I was nearly halfway to dead. So I decided, I need to do something special. I need to do something spectacular, face my fears, right? So I decided to go on a trip to the Amazon jungle in Brazil by myself. Now, I am totally not a nature person, okay? Like glamping, that is like way too roughing it for me. And I'm just like afraid of everything. When I go to my local park, there's a leaf, I jump because I'm afraid I'm gonna get poison ivy. And when I was in DC just last week, in the evening, I'm walking around and I'm petrified that the person behind me is stalking me, they're gonna mug me. And it turns out it was an 85-year-old woman hunched over who could barely shuffle her feet. So it was a couple of days before I was about to head to the Amazon, and I'm in my bed, I'm going ahead watching TV, I'm channel surfing, and I get to National Geographic Channel, and coincidentally, there's a show on called Caiman of the Amazon. Gotta watch it. Now, I actually had seen a caiman before. If you're not familiar, a caiman is like a cousin of an alligator or a crocodile. I'd seen one in a zoo, and it was about 4 feet long and pretty slim. But then the announcer gets on, and he says, "In the Amazon, caiman grow to 15 feet long, and they often fight with the fishermen for the limited food." And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this huge caiman shows up, it jumps into the boat, and it is wrestling with the fishermen for the food. So I start saying, oh my God, I can't do it. I'm not going. And I managed to calm myself down. And 2 days later, I get on the plane to Brazil with the help of anxiety pills. Okay. More than one? Okay, 3, that's my final offer. And I end up in Brazil, and I go to the bank of the Amazon River, where a guide picks me up, just the two of us. We get into a small motorboat, and we go up the river. Now, he is expressionless, he is stoic, and for 4 hours of silence, I am just going up the river. I end up in an encampment. And all of a sudden, I'm profusely sweating. It's 100% humidity. I'm getting like bitten all over. There are like bugs everywhere. And he takes me to my cabin. It's totally rustic, right? And he takes me to the cabin. There's nothing else around it. There's no other cabins. And he says in a totally flat tone, he says to me that there is no electricity in the cabin. There is 1 hour of electricity you get per night with a 25-watt bulb. Please get settled, walk up the long path, and you will get further instructions. So I put my clothes away, I go up the long path, and there I meet 7 other people from around the world who are also on this jungle trek. We get welcomed by the guide, and then he says, "It is really important that you stay alert always. You need to look where you are going. There are giant tarantulas with 1-inch fangs. There are 20-foot anacondas. And there are jaguars that will bite your skull and puncture your brain. It is important that you always have a flashlight with you at night. Always." I didn't see the flashlight in the cabin. You don't have a flashlight? No, I didn't know. I was supposed to bring one. Well, we can't help you. So I go back to my cabin, my head down, I'm sobbing uncontrollably about how am I supposed to get through the next 3 days. In my cabin, I remember, oh yeah, I brought like a book light. You know those like itty bitty like book lights that you put onto a book you clip on at night to go ahead and read? Yeah, I'm gonna use that. So I go up the long path, I have dinner, and at the end of dinner, it's pitch black. And I have to go by myself, quarter of a mile away, with my book light. And I start to hear the sounds of the jungle. So I take the book light and I go for it. And I'm going faster and faster and faster. And I start running, okay? I'm totally running as fast as I can. I make it into the cabin. I hermetically seal myself in. And I take heavy duty sleeping pills until I can get through the morning. So the next morning, I'm at breakfast and I'm told I'm going piranha fishing. I look around and I realize I have a lot of dried blood on me from like all of the insects I've been scratching. So we get into a boat, we go ahead and we end up at the fishing spot. And then, you know how when like you're fishing, right? You're fishing around here, it's quiet. You're supposed to be like, silent. That's how you get the fish. Not for piranha. No. Okay? What you do is you take a bamboo stick with a hook on it, you put a huge chunk of meat, you put it in the water, and you start banging the water as loudly as you can. Bang, 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 splash, 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 splash. And then suddenly, there's a huge amount of piranha, and it's a feeding frenzy. And I kept thinking, oh my God, if this tips over this boat, it's gonna be like spaghetti and meat sauce. Oh my God. So luckily the boat doesn't tip. And I actually did catch a piranha, super simple. All you needed to do was just to go lift your bamboo stick up and there's piranha there. And that night, we had piranha soup for dinner. Yes, I actually have to say it really was kind of good. I was surprised it was kind of good. So the next night, my last night, I was supposed to go caiman spotting. And I told myself, get courage, Scott. You got this. Get courage, liquid courage. So I started drinking caipirinhas, if anyone knows what that is. Caipirinhas are a Brazilian drink that's kind of similar to a mojito. He totally had no idea what that was at the bar and did his best to accommodate me. And basically, I started drinking. I had 5 potent caipirinhas in 20 minutes. And I don't know if I was just like brave all of a sudden or I was just like too drunk to fucking care, but I decided to get into that boat and we go caiman spotting. Now what that means is that the guide goes ahead and he has a spotlight. We're in this really low to the water boat and he goes like this. And when you see yellow dots, specifically pairs of yellow dots, those are the eyes of the caiman. And there were a lot of yellow dots. So we're headed towards one. All of a sudden, the stoic guy doesn't say anything. He jumps out of the boat. I hear splashing. I hear struggling. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm in the Amazon. It's pitch black. I don't have a guide. Nobody knows that I'm here. And I have no idea how many caiman there are that are around me. He then emerges. He's holding a 6-foot caiman. And he throws it into the boat. Oh my God, I shriek louder than a 7-year-old on a playground who's just been given the cooties. And I'm like, oh my God. And maybe he was intuitive and he sensed that I was starting to feel uncomfortable. So he went ahead and he put the caiman back into the river. So the next morning I left the Amazon unscathed except for my wicked hangover, and I flew back to the US. And when I landed on US soil, you know what I did? I threw my hands up in the air and I said, yes, I did it! I did it! I faced my fears! Okay, that's not totally what happened at all. I actually went and I fell to the floor on my knees and I'm like, why? Oh my God, why did I do that? Why did I go through that? I am just too old to face my fears. I've decided I'm gonna live the rest of my life and never face my fears. And it's been 18 years and I never have. Thank you.